Zestology, this is the podcast all about energy, vitality and motivation. I'm Tony Wrighton. It's another solo episode. Haven't done one in ages, and I've been keeping a list of all the things that I want to talk about, all the hacks that I wanted to talk about that I've been looking at over the last few months during lockdown, and I finally got around to it. So, first of all, I hope this sounds okay. I've created a sound booth in the corner of our spare room during lockdown. The time that you have to get up to stuff like that during lockdown. I was kind of doing, I've done voiceovers from home for years, and it's always been, I always tell people I've got a studio, but actually it's basically my head in the wardrobe. And it sounds incredibly professional when you kind of muffle your voice with a couple of t-shirts and an old hoodie. But it's not very comfortable to record a full podcast in. So I've built this kind of sound booth in the corner of the spare room, and I've bought these soundproofing pads on Amazon. I've bought 12 of them. It's about 20 quid for about 12 pads. I probably need 140 of them. So it's a work in progress, but hopefully it sounds okay. And you can, the sound quality is kind of relatively good. I don't think it's quite studio quality. I don't think it's quite wardrobe with a hoodie quality, but it's not too bad. So, yeah, this is the podcast all about energy and vitality. And I've done these hacks episodes a few times before. As you know, a big focus of Zestology is finding various hacks, you might call them biohacks or biohacking, to kind of bring ourselves back to a more kind of natural, healthy, organic wellness state. And sometimes that involves tech, and sometimes that involves very primal hacks like grounding and getting outside in the sunshine. But especially during lockdown, it is hard, isn't it? I mean, you might be right now sitting at a desk, hunched over a laptop. You might not have seen the sunshine all day. And actually, today it's not a very nice day, which is why I'm recording this inside. And it's hard to be primal when you're not allowed out of the house during lockdown. And so it's nice to look at the various hacks, the things we can do, the exercise tweaks we can make in the comfort of our own home, and see what works. So coming up on this podcast, there's some supplements, there's some lifestyle practices, there's some gadgets. I'm ready to go. I've got my Black Americano. I've got my Seeking Health electrolyte next to me, and we will look at some hacks that have been working for me. I did call this podcast Zest Hacks in the past, but I think I'll just call it Hacks. Maybe we should start with coffee, actually, because coffee's a big part of a lot of our lives. You know, life would not be good without coffee, and lockdown would not have been good without coffee either. And you probably know that I've got a sister site, a passion project, which is histamine-intolerance.net. And I just kind of write about my adventures of discovering histamine intolerance. And the most popular article, the most popular blog by far on this, and the one that's ranking really highly on SEO, is entitled, "Is Coffee High Histamine? Brackets, please say no." So I just want to start with coffee, actually, because during lockdown, probably the lockdown purchase that has been absolutely fantastic for me has been a second-hand coffee machine. You know, for lots of reasons, I like to buy things second-hand if I can. We bought a DeLonghi coffee machine. Partly, it was way cheaper. I think we got about a third off by buying it. It's not second-hand, it's refurbished. So basically, it's new. But I don't know, someone else might have sent it back after 30 days, or they might have used it as a test machine or something like that. But we got at least 35% off, as good and new. And also it just feels like, you know, you're kind of contributing towards a slightly greener world when you get things second-hand or refurbished. So we bought a refurbished coffee machine, and that is providing some excellent lockdown coffees, because obviously we can't go out to our normal coffee shops. But this podcast, this blog that I wrote on histamine-intolerance.net on histamine and coffee, was all about how we all love coffee and we would hate to give it up even with histamine intolerance. But I wrote a few observations that I found about coffee. And one of them is, when I have organic coffee, when I drink organic coffee where possible, I feel a lot better. And first I started drinking coffee made with bulletproof coffee beans. That was kind of my introduction into it. Supposedly low toxin, low mold, and organic coffee grown by reputable farmers. And that definitely made me feel better than a normal coffee. Then I started to notice other organic and low toxin coffees available. At the moment, I've been drinking Mindful Coffee, which is a coffee sold online. It's in the UK. I'm not sure if it's in the US. Similar concept to Bulletproof Coffee. It's quite expensive compared to normal coffee. I mean, you're probably paying at least double for the beans, but it's a lovely, buttery, smooth texture. And I don't get any of the kind of histamine intolerance side effects that I might from some coffees. One of the reasons I wanted to mention coffee on this Hacks podcast is that we all love a creamer in our coffee. You know, when you make a nice coffee and you get a good creamer, and actually this coffee machine that I bought does that absolutely brilliantly. Well, one of the other ways to get creamer at home is to use a Nespresso machine. I've always quite enjoyed a Nespresso coffee in the past. We went on holiday, God, I mean, it was ages ago now. It was last November, I think. It was definitely pre-lockdown. We had a free Nespresso machine in our room with a couple of pods every day. It felt like we were beating the system every single day. And I found those capsules increased my histamine symptoms. They did not make me feel good. I've noticed it since when we go around to friends' houses and they make us a coffee on a Nespresso machine. Call me Mr. Sensitive, you probably will. But I'm convinced that these capsules increase my histamine symptoms. I'm not quite sure why. Every coffee I would kind of feel bunged up and blocked up. It might be the plastic in the capsules, because the capsules are actually plastic. And the plastic obviously gets heated to high temperatures when you make the coffee on the Nespresso machine. But either way, a freshly brewed coffee seems to work better for me than capsules. And the other thing I wrote in that blog is just the fact that, as weird as it may sound, don't leave your coffee lying around for a long time before drinking it. Because apart from the fact it's going to be kind of a bit tepid when you drink it, some say this gives coffee the chance to acquire more bacteria and histamine. So, leftovers basically high in histamine because you leave them around for a long time and they grow bacteria. Same with coffee. So I better have a slurp of my coffee now. I know I've mentioned coffee in the past and I probably will again, but that's just a quick overview. It was a DeLonghi ESAM machine that we went for, and it wasn't particularly cheap, but I tell you what, it's probably the cost of getting coffees in my local coffee shop for about 30 days. So it wasn't expensive, and you can get them refurbished on eBay. There you go. First hack. I give the a refurbished home coffee machine a hack rating of 5 out of 5 because I absolutely love it, and there's enough of a kind of boys' toys element to it as well that makes it very enjoyable. It's bean to cup, so you're not actually, it's not like a coffee shop machine, but it's pretty much the same thing. It grinds the beans, and you can change the grind. You can change the strength. You can change the amount of water. You can change quite a few different things. You can change the heat of the coffee as well, without having to be an absolute expert in it all. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. Okay, Zest hacks. Let's move on to workouts. Home workouts, quite a challenge in this world of lockdown. Or as it is now, it's really semi-lockdown, isn't it? By the way, if you hear any kind of slight screaming or kind of crashing around in the background, that's my son, who's at home and being looked after during lockdown today by my partner. I've done a lot of looking after him as well. Probably spent more time than I ever would have if it wasn't for this, and that's been one of the major plus points of lockdown. But on a kind of a wet and damp day like this, it can provide its own challenges. So workouts, I mean, one of the interesting things about lockdown is the fact that obviously our gym is closed, and if you're listening to this in America, your gym might be open now, and I've no idea how they are going to open with social distancing and all the sweat and grime that goes with a normal gym. I mean, let's be honest, they probably are petri dishes all on their own. But one of the things that surprised me is the fact that I've got on absolutely fine with working out at home, and I've posted in my newsletter on TonyWrighton.com a few times about some of the podcasts that I've been listening to, some of the workouts that I've been doing online, and how it's worked very well for me. And in actual fact, if you're looking to save money, and if I'm looking to save money, I might not renew that gym membership when we go back, when it opens again. Sky actually has the best corporate gym in the country as well, and that's not I'm not far away from Sky here, so I suppose I could just use that as well. But it's an interesting one, how a lot of the things we thought we needed, we don't need so much. I do like working out with other people. I like getting out of the house, that's for certain. But I don't miss working out in the gym that much. One of the things I've been doing is a site called volve. If you search for P and then volve, you'll find it. It's kind of a cross between a workout and Pilates. And it's all very small, mindful movements. It's very focused. They've got hundreds of videos on there. Some of them you don't need any equipment. Some of them you just need a mat. Some of them you need like a belt to stretch. And some of them you need slightly more advanced equipment, like 2 small weights and stuff like that. It's great fun. You can pick the length of workout. And honestly, I'm working out more now than I ever was when I went to the gym. I mean, I've been working out more over the last 45 days or so than... I actually checked my tracking sheet before I started this podcast, and I've done 36 workouts in the last 37 days. And the only day I missed was last Sunday, when I went for a walk in the morning and then I was at work at Sky in the afternoon. I just didn't have time, and I'm gutted that I missed a day. But it's great. And I class a workout as anything 20 minutes or over. So I'm not setting the bar that high, but often once you get to 20 minutes, you do another 20 minutes, half an hour anyway. So Volve is a great site. I give that a 4 out of 5 Zest Hacks rating. There's also another site that I've been mentioning on my newsletter, which is called The Class, which Faith has been doing quite a bit. This is just absolutely bonkers. Who knows what the neighbours think of us? Because the sounds that you have to make when you take the class are extraordinary. But it's a full-on body workout. It's also kind of quite yoga-based. There's plenty of meditation and music and dance in there. It's probably slightly more female than male-focused. I've only done that one once, but she loves it, which is why I'm mentioning it here. The Class is what it's called. I'll give that a hacks rating of 4 out of 5 because I know how much she loves it. Yeah, it's not my number one, but Volve is great. And just lastly, a mention on home workouts for the other thing which has been an absolute godsend for me. 2 things actually. We've got one of these Carol artificial intelligence bikes here. Thank goodness we have that. I absolutely love working out. On the Carol bike, you're supposed to be able to do the equivalent of a 45-minute workout in 8.5 minutes with only 2 intense 20-second sprints. So basically, you're getting a full body workout in 40 seconds. And it is seriously hard work. It pushes you slightly beyond your edge, which is why it increases your cardio resistance. It increases your heart rate very, very quickly. And it also kind of burns fat and creates muscle. And I don't really know the science behind it, but if you head to Carol A.I bikes online, you'll find all the details on there. It's brilliant. And I have to say that sometimes I just use it in manual mode, where you basically use it as a kind of very sophisticated exercise bike, which has kind of got audio programs you can use as well, and it measures your heart rate and all the rest of it. It keeps your stats online in the cloud too. So definitely give the Carol A.I bike a 5 out of 5 Zest Hacks rating. Just a Hacks rating now. I'm not calling it Zest Hacks anymore, am I? And the other thing I've been doing is Qi Gong, a lot of it, and I absolutely love it. You know, this podcast is all about energy, and I started this podcast because I didn't have any energy. And finding this practice which is so focused on cultivating the energy in our body and the link between our mind, our body, and our breath, cultivating this Qi is just fantastic. It's not an intense workout, but it is extremely enjoyable. I took a 5-day Qi Gong 12 Rivers course with Aaron Collins Thomas. I've put a link in my newsletter to this. And it's just a lovely experience. I've never taken an online course before like that, but it was excellent. Just very meditative, and I've been doing it pretty much every day since. Absolutely give the Qi Gong a 5 out of 5. I did mention actually that I'd be quite keen to do Zestology Qi Gong class where we could all do it together. Because it's quite enjoyable, and you all get on Zoom and we could see each other. It'd be a nice way to kind of cultivate the community. I'd definitely do the 12 Rivers again. If you're into that, then let me know. I mentioned that in the newsletter and quite a few people got back to me. So that's something I could speak to Aaron about. I don't know how much he charges for a 12 Rivers course, but I shouldn't have thought it'd be too much and it'd be quite enjoyable as well. But the Qigong, it's absolutely 5 out of 5. It is so enjoyable. So all pretty positive on the hacks so far. That concludes the workouts section. Just going to have a sip of my coffee. Want to go on to another lockdown purchase, which is the Ninja Blender. Now you might know Tim Gray. Tim Gray is the bloke he's been on Zestology. He used to own hyperbaric oxygen chamber company in London, and now he runs the Health Optimization Summit. And he's been on Zestology 2 or 3 times, and we're actually talking about doing another one. We just keep missing each other at the moment. It'd be nice to do it in the flesh, but I don't think we're allowed to get within 2 meters of each other at the moment, although that's at the time of recording, and that might have changed by the time you listen to this. But anyway, I spoke to Tim a couple of weeks ago on the phone, and I said, mate, I'm a bit jealous. I've seen you're using a Thermomix blender on your Instagram, and it looks sensational. And this Thermomix is terrific. In these weeks of being confined to the house, the extra time that we have at home means that I've had plenty of time to cook, and I've, for instance, created the ultimate coconut and ginger ice cream recipe, which I'm, by the way, thinking of selling and making millions. There's only 4 ingredients. But I was very jealous of Tim's Thermomix blender because I felt like it would help me make that ice cream and plenty of other dishes very well. And then I asked him the price, and it's eye-wateringly expensive. These Thermomix blenders do everything, but they are expensive. And I just started thinking about it. I thought, I love cooking, and I'm doing a lot of cooking. Maybe I can do something cheaper. And I found the Ninja Blender on Amazon for about 18 times less than the Thermomix. So it's all about, I'm saving you money here as well. I didn't buy this one refurbished. I have to say I got it new. But it's like a posh blender, but considerably cheaper. You whack it all in, you blend it up. The coconut and ginger ice cream recipe, I can pretty much give it to you now. It's coconut milk, coconut flesh, ice, ginger, and a dash of stevia. I know that's technically 5 ingredients, but I'm basically saying 4 because I'm only coating coconut once. Whack it all in, blend it up, you got ice cream. Thermomix would probably do it better, but the Ninja's a very good substitute. It makes soups as well, and it cooks things. So the Ninja Blender has been a 5 out of 5 lockdown hack. Onto tiger nuts. Have you ever cooked or eaten tiger nuts? I have since lockdown. There's a lot of things I've been doing in lockdown in the kitchen. I've made yogurt a few times, which has been very exciting. I've made 4 batches of yogurt now. And the reason I've been making yogurt is, I'll get into tiger nuts in just a moment, but the reason I've been making yogurt is, this is not one of the hacks, by the way. Yogurt tends to be high histamine, which means that it's quite hard if you're histamine intolerant to eat yogurt, even though I absolutely love coconut yogurt. I'm obsessed with Koyo, basically. Coconut yogurt is fairly high fat, low carb. It's a delicious light dessert, and what's not to love about it except the fact that it's high histamine? So I set my mind to making a low histamine yogurt, and the way I did it was basically followed a yogurt recipe with coconut milk and coconut cream, and then emptied in a couple of probiotics. How good is this? A couple of low histamine probiotics into the mixture. And I used Seeking Health probiotic histamine X probiotics, and just empty them in. And then you cook it. You get a yogurt maker, or you can use an Instant Pot or anything that will make yogurt, and put it on for between 8 and 16 hours. I've done 4 batches. The first one was delicious, very yogurt-like, but quite thin. The next two were pretty good, a little bit thicker, but a little bit less yogurty, quite kind of coconut creamy, but still good. The fourth batch, we will never talk of again. When I opened the lid, they say that you know if your yogurt making has gone wrong. Let me tell you, I knew the moment I opened the lid, my yogurt making had gone wrong. It was a horrendous sight. It was a crime scene in there. I don't want to ever think about it again. So, I need to get back in the saddle and make my fifth batch of yogurt because that didn't go well. But all sorts of things could have happened. I think what had happened was, you really need to sterilize all the equipment before you make the yogurt. And the Instant Pot may not have been quite as clean around the lid as it should have been. So, there's probably more information than you need, but I've now properly sterilized it. I'm going to make another batch of yogurt. Another thing I've been doing is making tiger nut ice cream and using tiger nuts for all sorts of recipes. Tiger nuts are not actually nuts. They are tuber-like vegetables, I think. But if you have some kind of histamine intolerance or if nuts don't leave you feeling great, and if you follow the bulletproof diet, then a lot of nuts can be slightly suspect in terms of the inflammatory properties that they have or the mold that they have, then you got to try tiger nuts. They're very enjoyable. You can buy them online or in various health food shops. You can use them as they are, or you can soak them to make them a bit softer. I've been using them in granola, homemade granola, and I've been churning them up and making tiger nut butter out of it. So a really fun, unusual, interesting discovery. Tiger nuts and tiger nut butter, which is basically nuts churned up with a bit of oil in there, MCT oil or olive oil even, which sounds weird but is absolutely fine. You could put a dash of stevia in there as well, and then you just put it in the fridge. Give it a 4 out of 5 hacks rating. I tell you why I'm not giving it a 5 out of 5, and that is because I got some of the tiger nut butter out of the fridge the other day. I was happily having it with some blueberries, and my partner, Faith, I said, do you want a little taste? She said, yeah. I gave her a little taste, and she said, tastes a bit like eating sand, doesn't it? So that's why I'm not giving it a 5 out of 5 rating. I feel that that's not exactly a ringing endorsement. Now, this podcast is brought to you by my partners for June, which is Magnesium Breakthrough. And I am following Magnesium June. I've been writing about this in my newsletter. If there is one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it is magnesium. So let me just tell you about my podcast partners for June. You might want to check out Magnesium Breakthrough. Magnesium, clearly it's the body's master mineral. Powerful in over 300 critical reactions, and most of us are magnesium deficient. In fact, 80% of the population may be deficient. And the problem with most supplements is they only contain 1 or 2 forms of magnesium, when in reality there are at least 7 that your body needs and benefits from. And that is why Magnesium Breakthrough is such an exciting product, because it's got 7 different types of magnesium in it. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement. It's easily the best that I've ever experienced, and I'm taking it during June in Magnesium June to try it out. The idea is that, when I talk about stuff on this podcast, I use it as well. So I'm using Magnesium Breakthrough in June. I'm very keen to hear from you and see if you're enjoying it as well. And, the thing is, there's so many different types of magnesium and you absorb them in different ways. And if you buy a type of magnesium that your own particular body doesn't absorb that well, or is not very absorbable in general, it's not going to help. It's just going to come out in different ways. Or you might get, as Dave Asprey says, disaster pants if you really don't absorb it very well. And that is why Magnesium Breakthrough is a good one. I'm enjoying it in Magnesium June. It's a working title. If you've got any better ideas, let me know. But if you would like to check out Magnesium Breakthrough and save up to 40% with the code Zestology10, you just go to magbreakthrough.com/Zestology. And that deal is only available on that site, by the way. It's not on Amazon. It's not even on the company's own website. The deal of up to 40% off is only available on magbreakthrough.com/Zestology. You'll find the most effective magnesium supplement. You won't have to buy 7 different bottles of magnesium to get the complete dose anymore. And use the code Zestology10 to save up to 40% off select packages when you go to magbreakthrough.com/Zestology. They ship almost all over the world. In the UK, it's a slightly different deal. You can head to bioptimizers.co.uk. All the products from Bioptimizers are on there, and you can use the code Zestology10. But I tell you what, it's a brilliant product. I'm very much enjoying it, and it is Magnesium June. So magbreakthrough.com/Zestology. Let's give that a hacks rating. Let's give that a 5 out of 5. I want to talk about one more hack on this particular podcast, and that is James Clear and his book Atomic Habits. Some of the hacks on this podcast have cost quite a bit. Some of them are quite cheap. Buying Atomic Habits by James Clear will set you back £7 or £8. And it's one of the books. I tell you what, I'm actually quite keen to do this in a Zestology book club. I know before we did fiction, and this would be non-fiction, but I just wonder if it would work. James Clear is one of the world's top habit experts, and lots of different people, lots of friends of mine had recommended Atomic Habits, and I'd kind of heard about it a few times but hadn't quite got started on it. But if you're interested in the science, the absolute scientific proof behind improving habits, then you'll be interested in this book. And what did I learn and what have I changed? Well, I've developed some much better habits during lockdown. For a start, I mean, the first thing that's been much better is my circadian rhythm is so much more on point. I go to bed at the same time every night. And that normally isn't possible for me because I often work at Sky until midnight. I'm getting back at 1 a.m. I'm jacked up. I'm excited. My brain's in overdrive and it's hard to go to sleep. But at the moment, Sky is operating very much a reduced schedule, and I haven't been doing those late shifts. The latest I've been getting back, I am still in the studio, but the latest I've been getting back from work is about 10 o'clock. So I'm able to get the same bedtime, about 10:30 every night, wake up about 7 o'clock in the morning every day. It just feels a lot better. That's a habit that's been very easy to do, but not that easy because I've had to develop a couple of side habits that have made that possible. First thing I've done is I've been tracking whether I turn out the light before 10:45 every day. So as you probably know, I use a Google form to track various things in my life, various supplements, how I'm feeling. Then I spot trends on Google Trends, not on Google Trends, on Google Sheets and Google Forms. And I've found that when I simply track this one thing, did I go to bed before 10:45? Yes or no? It makes me want to do it because it's something I know is important. And it's normally 10:44 every night when I turn out the light, but that seems to work. The second thing that's worked very well is leaving my phone out of the bedroom and downstairs. I mean, honestly, I'm just so much more tired when I go to sleep and my brain's working less. But keeping myself accountable by tracking these things and making it even more accounting by sharing your goals with other people and by sharing your kind of daily little kind of mini wins with someone else as well. This is all part of what James talks about in his book. And making it easy to achieve your habits. That's one thing that is really important. Making things easy. It's much easier for me to go to sleep at 10:45 and sleep well if I've not got distractions in my room like my phone. So leave it out of my room. You know, another habits that I've developed is first bit of work I've been doing each morning is writing. First bit of work. Doesn't matter what I'm writing, but I like writing. I am a writer. I've written 3 books, but often I'll spend 2 hours on emails before I actually do any writing. Therefore, I set myself the goal of writing first thing. But James says, make it extremely easy. Don't say I'm going to write for half an hour because that's hard. Say I'm going to write for 2 minutes and then you might do 5 or you might do 10 or you might do 20. He says, you have to develop a habit before you can improve it. If you set yourself the goal of meditating for an hour a day, you're not going to do it. But if you set yourself the goal for meditating for 30 seconds a day and you start to develop that muscle of meditation, you start to do it every single day, you will develop, and then you probably start doing 10 minutes next month and 20 minutes the month after that. So that's a few of the habits that I've been developing over the last couple of months. Obviously such a strange time, but a good opportunity to do things like that. And I found that his advice of kind of tracking it, scheduling your habits and making them easy has worked very well. and linking it to another point in the day. First point of the day, I always write before I do anything else. Therefore, I'll remember to do it. Definitely recommend that book. Give it a hacks rating of 5 out of 5. There's a lot of 5s today, isn't there? Listen, thank you so much for listening to this Hacks podcast. Hope it helps. As always, I'd love to hear on your experiences on the supplements that I've mentioned. The mindful coffee. Oh no, I've let it sit now. It's cold. It's probably increased in histamine, but I'm still having a sip. The Seeking Health electrolyte, the Ninja blender, the refurbished coffee machine, the Nespresso coffee capsules, the organic coffee, the different workouts, the volve, and of course the Qi Gong, which I'm absolutely loving at the moment, the class, tiger nuts and tiger nut butter, and yogurt making. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of those. And even if you've got a Thermomix, which is 18 times more expensive than my blender, I'd love to hear from you. And I'd love to hear why it's so much better. I'm not getting one. I can't afford it. And I'm very happy with my cheap one. But I'd love to hear from you. And when I actually do interview Tim, I'll have a laugh with him about that. And we'll talk about that, because I think I've pretty much got the same blender as him. And mine was 18 times cheaper. So there you go. As always, thank you for listening. I'll try and do a few more of these hacks episodes, because I do like doing it. It's just kind of sitting down and doing it here. And next time, maybe I'll have more than 12 soundproofing mini pads around the corner of my spare room. I'll have 100, but I'll have to save up for that as well. Thanks to my podcast partners for this episode. It's Magnesium June, and my podcast partners are Magnesium Breakthrough, absolutely loving it. The most effective magnesium supplement. I would love to hear how you're getting on with this. And I mean, the reason that 80% of us are magnesium deficient is because of the soil. It's very interesting, this. The soil used to have plenty of magnesium in it, and then it was ploughed and ploughed and ploughed, and each year it's slightly less in its natural state than it used to be. I'm probably not explaining it that well, but magnesium is now largely missing from soil, and that's been the case since the 50s. It's been kind of less every year, and that is why up to 80% of the population may be magnesium deficient, and you may start to feel a lot better quite quickly. So the magnesium that has 7 different types of it is Magnesium Breakthrough. So you don't need to buy 7 different bottles anymore to get the complete dose. You just get one, and that is Magnesium Breakthrough. Go to magbreakthrough.com/zestology. Use the coupon code zestology10. You can save up to 40%, and that deal is not anywhere else. It's not on Amazon. It's not the company's website. It's only on magbreakthrough.com/zestology. Full spectrum effective magnesium, and we'll see how we get on with Magnesium June. We might do something else in July as well. I had a list of a lot of hacks that I wanted to get through. I wanted to talk about the sunlight and sauna and sensate. I wanted to talk about dust and mold in the house and what I've been kind of innovating in terms of sleeping better at night. I wanted to talk about CBD gummies. Thank you to my friend and former podcast guest Rich Blake for the advice on that one. I've been enjoying them in the evenings, but we'll do that next time. And I had a big hack fail as well, a massager, but that'll all have to wait for next time. I might have to do another hacks soon, to be quite honest. Thanks for listening. Thanks for checking out Zestology. Do tell other people about it if you like it, and write a review and all the rest of it. And I'll be back next week, so I'll see you then.